has a sort of spidey sense, or we'll call it elfy sense.
The making of Rings of Power Part 2, the show which makes you realise that a fool and his money are easily parted. You actually spoke to these people and then decided to hire them for $1 billion show. You can't say you weren't warned.
Coming into the city, we've wanted to experience it from our characters' perspectives.
Which other perspectives were you going to see it from?
Well, I think we should see this from the position of somebody that exists in our show.
The only other option would be something like this, where you're just having to describe them entering the city.
Coming from the Southlands, Hal is used to everything's pretty run down, so I think he's pretty impressed and amazed that men can create a kingdom.
No! Firstly, why is that the men's fault? There are women at both of these places as well. They could have picked up a hammer if they really wanted to, and yes, I know he means human, but there's no way the people in the Southlands are like, oh, I didn't know that men could put bricks on top of other bricks. And besides, we've seen a Southland town. They put about 100 people into 3 houses. Building a TARDIS is complicated. Is it weird that I'm more impressed by your concept art than I was with the actual show? Where you've got people which are simultaneously recognizable but don't have many features, combined with incredibly detailed architecture.
We shot a lot of our camera stuff from the shoulders of Galadriel and Halbrand looking up.
I mean, yeah, you shot it from their perspective, but that's just because you wanted to follow them as they were doing a conversation. I don't feel like you had much choice. This is why I'm not like, oh, TV series are art. No, it's not art. You're just pretentious. You'll never understand the hidden depth that I had as I positioned my camera on their face.
To really sell that sense of scale, more importantly, make this place feel huge.
Oh, it's so up himself. As I had a character walk down a set, he looked up, and it gave the audience the impression that it was so much larger. You're overanalyzing the impact that a camera angle can have, when the real content of your entertainment is the script. People weren't thinking, Hellbrand's looking up at the sky, the city must be so impressive. No, they were desperately trying to stay awake.
Keep moving. You would not want to be lost here without an escort.
Why? Are you saying that the streets of your city aren't safe? Because if you are, that seems like that would be under your job to fix. It's like, I do my job terribly, but as long as I'm around, you won't suffer for it.
Numenorians are larger than life in Tolkien's mythology.
But they weren't in your show, were they? Is that why you made Galadriel in your show really tiny, to try and make the Numenorians seem far taller in comparison?
And we want Numenor to be impressive.
What on earth is going on here? I don't even know what to say. I'm scared. Are you a big fan of Doctor Who, or are those just glasses for the blind? No, bow ties aren't cool, and it doesn't matter how many times people try and say it. The worst thing is those clothes probably cost more than my entire setup. But look, don't judge a book by its cover. Except for the artwork and the blurb on the back, because they're both literally designed for you to judge the book by. Look, I'm sorry, I've been nursing a grudge against sayings for years, and they just kind of explode out of me at random times during videos.
We want Numenorians themselves to feel strong.
Yeah, if that picture portrays anything, it's definitely strength. Certainly doesn't scream, I've been pampered my entire life and wouldn't know how to handle a sword, as you sit there in a gold-stitched dress.
Regal, powerful.
Yeah, because nothing says regal and powerful like moob armor. The Numenorian army march on their stomachs and exist purely on a diet of corn and walnut milk. That's why it's understandable that we needed to let out the armor for a bit of extra room.
Worthy of being the greatest civilization Middle-earth ever to exist.
You didn't really show that on screen though, did you? I mean, seriously, what did they do? Rather than inventing a ship which is also a TARDIS that can travel across space and time, as well as hold 10 times the amount of people it should be able to, we're not even going to get started on the gear. Or maybe the majority of the army simply teleported across the ocean in the strongholds that existed that they never built. It's a fantasy. Space and time don't exist. They don't if you've got a TARDIS. I, for one, am very proud of my Time Lord Honorians.
She is the first elf in hundreds of years to end up stepping foot on Numenor.
That's gotta piss you off, hasn't it? You've not seen an elf in hundreds of years, and the first one you meet is Galadriel. That's like escaping from a desert island, and the first drink you get handed is iron brew. It's like, no thanks, mate. I think I'll go back on there. I just didn't appreciate how good I had it.
The Numenorians are looking at her as a relic.
Ah, nah, Morphid. I wouldn't call you a relic.
And she's looking at them as kind of a relic as well.
How can they be a relic? Yes, they're old, but they're nowhere near your age. I mean Galadriel, not Morphid. Calm down. I just don't think that an elf that has lived as long as Galadriel would look at anyone else as if they're a relic. Basically, every other civilization is a child compared to you at that point. So you'll always consider them to be young. Especially the Numenorians, who helped you.
She's come from Valinor, so she's the oldest, but I would say she's one of the most out of touch because of that.
She's the oldest, she's got the most experience, and she should know more than most people. And that means she's out of touch somehow. You don't have any concept of being wise, do you? This really sounds like projection.
Oh, everyone older than me has no idea what they're doing. No, I know more than them, obviously, because I know less, and that's an advantage somehow that I've not quite worked out yet.
It just strikes me of the attitude of the young. Galadriel isn't a horrible character because she's existed for a long time. Galadriel's a horrible character because you wrote her like an arse.
And she's kind of the aristocrat elf.
All elves are aristocrats. That's kind of their entire point. If you've lived for thousands of years and you come in contact with people that live for 20, of course you're going to think that you're more civilized and knowledgeable and more talented and come across as just a haughty group of arrogant little bastards. But that's the elves as a whole, and Galadriel doesn't come across as an aristocrat. An aristocrat is supposed to be polite and cultured. There's that kind of arrogant state as if when I speak people listen, but Galadriel doesn't have that. If anything, Galadriel comes across as incredibly insecure because she's just snapping at people all the time. She doesn't come across as confident or confident that anyone will obey her at all. That's why she's constantly fighting. It's like a spoiled brat railing against her parents all the time. And people can see it even in the show. Arundel compares her to his children, because that's the way she's acting.
Her consequences are all in her own mind and her own sorrow.
What does that even mean?
Oh, well, Galadriel's consequences are just to her fifis.
No wonder the show didn't feel like it had any stakes. Apparently the only thing at stake was Galadriel, was whether she felt a bit sad for a while.
Whereas Arondir's consequences are in his day-to-day life.
Otherwise known as actual consequences. Yes, Arondir gets attacked with swords, and you just feel a bit upset. Oh no, what shall I ever do if I don't have a sword? No wonder it just came across as whining. They thought that was a big deal, apparently. Galadriel's feelings.
And here we are.
What, that's how you're gonna launch your interview? Well, here I am. Yep, I could be somewhere else, but I'm not. I sound really excited to be here. I'm so impressed. Arondir, pump up the enthusiasm. Call someone a bigot.
The trenches.
Considering his other interviews, he might be referring to him being in the trenches of the culture war.
I want to remake society.
Where I lived for so many months.
Many months. You were in there for maybe 24 hours at most. You kind of arrived and then immediately staged an escape. Was that meant to be months that he was locked in there? Because I did not get that feeling at all.
When you look at this world, you know you're looking at an orc world.
I mean, seriously, let's just look at the picture that they showed on screen when he said that. Does that scream orc to anybody? Oh, we're so allergic to the sun, but we're gonna just let light rays streaming through it all the time, all over the place. You can even see the light rays behind my camera streaming through.
Canvases across the top of that gave it that kind of warmth in there.
You think that canvas makes it warm? Makes it look like a rubbish tip is what it makes it look like.
And the chaos of the shapes. We're echoing all the way back to Morgoth.
How? At no point did I look at any of this and go, that looks so much like Morgoth. Please, somebody point to the evil, chaotic shapes.
Many months been working on this fight and preparing for this.
Gotta be a disappointment when you saw the finished product, doesn't it?
He's very interested in getting it right.
Look, we're gonna put the camera on, make yourself look hard. Well, what should I do? Just look down and slowly look up with your arms folded. You'll either look strange or like a psychopath, but we won't know until you do it.
Our fight choreography is always thinking about...
I can't imagine why it turned out how it did. Do you want to just watch this closest guy?
Our fight choreography.
Look at that! I know you can talk about strength levels, but I don't want someone to be flipped over as easy as just kind of gently moving your hands. How on earth did that move even happen? So the sword comes in, it hits the chain, and he just straightens the chain and somehow his knife is now turned around it. If I'm swinging that way, how does the blade get turned around on me? And why am I doing this all of a sudden?
My relationship with the stunt department has been so close.
Well, it must have been close if you were in a relationship.
It's a whole dance.
Did you have a relationship with all three of them, or?
They need to feel my weight. I need to feel their weight.
I bet you do.
An entire relationship based on trust.
Well, I'm very happy for you. When's the wedding?
We started with just Ismail on the spot, just doing the jumps, progress slowly forward.
I'm sorry, but I wouldn't even classify that as a stunt. I kind of think that jumping should just be a normal human thing that people know how to do. It's like if you want to teach me how to ride a motorbike and you're like, well, first, I'm gonna have to teach you how to walk. No thanks, I've been doing that my entire life without your help.
It's a different kind of a woodland of stealth, closer to the ground.
Oh, it's like a description from Tolkien himself. Yes, the woodland elves, they're closer to the ground. You calling him short? Because I don't know if you've seen Galadriel, but I don't think there's anyone closer to the ground than she is.
Ismail, when he's fighting, he's not afraid of being low to the ground.
Why? Why would he be? Oh, I don't want to get close to the ground. Ants are on the ground, and I'm scared of ants. Seriously, what is the reasoning behind this?
Putting him in wire rigs so that he could fly through the air.
I really don't like the wire work that they did for Rings of Power. It doesn't look realistic at all, and somebody jumping through the air on a wire doesn't look like somebody jumping through the air under their own muscle. It doesn't look like just a more powerful jump. You can tell there's something holding them and like lifting them upwards. It's bizarre. Like, if you see that, he didn't fall at the pace that you would if you just jumped. And so you know there's like this weird anti-gravity thing that it just, I think to make it look more realistic, if anything, then you'd have to like propel them upwards with the rope, but then let them fall normally. Don't do any of this, I'm gonna make you hover and then fall gently to the ground nonsense.
I'm not a fan of heights.
Is that why you spent so long on the ground? I mean, I gotta be honest, you're only jumping a few feet in the air. It's not as if a fear of height should come into it. No one's making you walk down the side of a skyscraper or something.
It still gives me like a little bit because there's a moment.
How? You're like 3 foot in the air, dude.
I'm so scared of heights that if I just jump, I get afraid. I can't sit on a bar stool without going dizzy and having to steady myself on one of the cameramen.
Of free falling, and even though I do get a bit scared.
You get scared falling to the ground when you've got a rope attached to the ceiling on you. How on earth did you fly to the Rings of Power premieres if you can't even jump without getting scared?
Mechanical release on each end of the tree underneath. The guys activate by a little pyrotechnic charge.
Why did you need a pyrotechnic charge for that? All he did was hit it for a sword. It shouldn't require fireworks. I have a feeling we're finding out where all that wasted money went.
Galadriel is hunting for the sigil that she sees in Durnost.
Hunting isn't really the right word, is it? She kind of wanders around the world aimlessly and then has the answers literally handed to her when she goes to a place that was mentioned accidentally in passing. Whereas Hunt implies it's sort of actively looking for this thing, not just randomly stumbling over something because you enjoy being on a horse for some reason. We're not going to talk about that reason.
She asks some questions which can only be answered by taking her to the Hall of Lore.
No, she doesn't. She doesn't ask any questions that can only be answered over there. You mention it in passing and she's like, oh, it was built by an elf? Oh, I can ride a horse? She didn't ask any questions where you needed to find the answers. At all. One of the problems with the story is just everything was so coincidental.
How far is that?
Quarter day's ride.
Did you say ride?
Hey up, calm down, love.
So we're in Numenor.
I do find it weird that the dress they gave her is basically like a binder.
In this place that's magical to her on a horse again.
No, the place wasn't magical to her on the horse. The horse was magical to her, or at least part of her. Have you noticed how in so many of the behind-the-scenes pictures she's actually just smiling? It goes to show that none of this was the actress's fault. It was a deliberate choice by the directors to put her in those kind of miserable poses all of the time throughout all of the marketing. If you'd seen this part of her, Galadriel could have come across as an entirely different person.
A real moment of freedom and release.
That's something you're supposed to do in the privacy of your own home, not on camera. Yeah, that's the release right there.
We really wanted to kind of show just her pure joy and ecstasy.
Please, you keep making it worse. You wouldn't believe the explosive feelings of happiness. Please, make it stop. I can't handle it anymore.
Galadriel is in pursuit of a mystery that she's been tracking since our pilot.
I mean, we're in episode 3. A mystery that she's been tracking since the pilot isn't that big a deal, is it? You should have said for centuries there was a time jump, and the mystery is literally just her looking at a symbol, and then she looks at a symbol on another piece of paper and goes, oh, I know where this is all of a sudden for absolutely no reason, even though I've not been given any extra information. No one has a problem with the mystery. The problem is how she discovered it.
And has a sort of spidey sense.
Oh, you didn't, you. Oh. It wasn't logic or reason. She didn't come across any new information. No, it was woman's intuition.
I just kind of got this feeling that something wasn't right.
An elfy sense that...
Oh, stop. You're making it worse. He even knows. Look at his face. He knows exactly how stupid what he's just said is. And the guy next to him. I can't believe you just said that on camera. He's got spidey sense, and his brain went, hang on, you can't say that, that sounds stupid, and he goes, I know, elfy sense, that makes it way better.
Elfy sense that she may be able to get some answers.
She didn't have spidey sense or elfy sense that she could get answers over there. She heard it was built by an elf, and went, oh, I like elves, I'm an elf, I want to see what an elf built.
On a beach in New Zealand filming, seeing the black sands glittering. The days go so quickly when you're on location like this.
That's because you're on a horse, love.
We couldn't feel more proud of what we're doing right here today.
Maybe you should feel a little less proud of what you created, so that if in the future you actually make something good, you can go up somewhere. Give yourself a bit of headroom.
There's a tempest in me.
That'll be the dodgy Corey, love.
We open with a vision, and it all seems to be going normal enough.
Ow!
Yeah, so I had a vision of my entire island being destroyed by a massive wave. Basically a normal Tuesday, to be honest.
How crap a leader are you if your normal day is your entire civilization being destroyed?
When suddenly these white petals start to flutter into the space.
Yeah, because that was the problem.
Yeah, so my entire island was being destroyed, but it got really weird when a tree began to lose its leaves.
I'm just not sure we're using the same definitions of the word normal in this case. The enough part of your statement seems to be doing a lot of the heavy lifting, I've got to be honest.
There's a wealth and a richness, so you see people really in their finest outfits.
Oh, that'll be why they weren't wearing chainmail and instead just had it printed onto their outfits. You know, that printed on scale mail armor where you didn't bother to print it on the underside of the arm, so when they went like that, it was just cloth. These are the richest people in Middle-earth.
Guilds are a massive thing. With like, you're in a merchant guild. You're in the horse guild.
Did you just say you're in the horse guild?
Horse guild.
I don't even know what you were trying to say there. Stable hand, farrier, horse rider, cavalry. I even would have accepted blacksmith, but instead somehow we ended up at horse guild.
You're a sea god.
I just want to know one thing. Are you going to explain how the TARDIS ships existed? Because I've got to be honest, after this series, that's the main thing I'm curious about. Hey, I've got to be honest though, this ship looks a hell of a lot bigger in this picture than it ever did in any scene in the series. Maybe it's just because there's nothing to scale, but you could easily fit 100 people on there. Not 100 horses and all of their gear and food, but you could fit a lot more than I thought.
Each guild has its own badge.
Oh, please, show me what the horse badge is. Also, I have no idea who this guy is, but that is a meme face if ever I saw one.
Her biggest dream is to end up working in the Builders Guild.
Oh, my biggest dream is to be an architect. I would say it was STEM, but we haven't discovered science yet, so architect is the closest I could get.
And someone's still gonna have to explain to me why an architect is drawing the physical portrait of a person on their deathbed. Look, love, you design libraries, you don't do personal portraits.
The head of it is a man named Farazan, a true working class hero.
What was working class about him at all? He was aristocracy. He had a cloak inlaid with gold. He was the advisor to the queen. His son was a pompous, spoilt brat who had never done a day's work in his life. Farazan is as much working class as I'm a coal miner.
He's an embodiment of the new direction Numenor has taken.
I can't even think of him really doing much. He did a couple of speeches outside and then spoke about how he'd really love a trade agreement. It sounds like you wanted to give this character a lot more depth than you actually achieved.
Farazan's got a silver tongue and a way with the people.
I mean, you say he had a silver tongue. He bought them free drinks. I don't know if you've met most people, but that's genuinely enough. Would be for me.
Probably 200, 250 extras.
Yeah! He had his microphone. If I was the DJ, then he was the MC.
Oh, the analogies just don't really work when you're talking about Lord of the Rings, do they?
Oh yeah, I was a DJ and he was the MC, and we started going, Brexit! Brexit!
I'm not the one that brought that up. He's brought that up in a previous interview. That's why I mentioned it. You don't have to warm up a crowd of extras because you pay them to be entertained by what you're saying. You don't have to give a genuinely inspiring speech. They're paid to act as if they're inspired by it. You don't need a warm-up artist from the director.
He really whipped them up into a frenzy.
Did he? Or did he just pay them to be there for the day and so they acted excited because that's what you wanted them to act like? And remember, we heard your speech, and believe me, there's nothing he could have said that would have made that inspiring.
She will remain as ever a kingdom of men!
Thinking about it, maybe the crowd shouldn't have got so hyped up because you're like, elves will never lead this nation! And then in the next episode, actually, we're following an elf to Middle-earth and we're going to war, all because an elf told us to. Actually, elves are going to lead us after all. If anything, the crowd being so hyped that they were never going to get led by an elf made the later episodes even more unbelievable. Well, this is Rings of Power. Why would you ever expect it to make sense?
People look to these stories and these relationships in a very personal way.
No, they look to Tolkien's stories in a very personal way. Not yours. Believe me, no one's going to be looking to Rings of Power in their time of need and think, I'm so attached to this story. It was so incredible and deep. Even the scene you're showing while you say this was a guy going, I promise that I'm never going to say anything about anything I find in this. And at the end he's like, yeah, but you can take this out and don't worry, that's not covered by your previous NDA, so you can talk about that whenever you want. And he turns around and immediately tells people about it.
Episode 4 is the first time that Bronwyn understands that she may lose her son
Are you having a laugh? In a previous episode, she was literally fighting an orc with him in the room when the orc is trying to stab him with a sword, and you're like, well, she's never really understood he could die until this moment. She was in a life and death battle with him in the previous episode. What are you even on about?
She's reunited with Theo and Arondir. There's this real sobering moment that life can be really, really short and fleeting.
Isn't she a healer, like a medic? Shouldn't the person who's most aware of the naturally short time that we have on Earth be the person who constantly deals with people who are dying? I never really understood why actors were so much like, what's my motivation in this scene? But hearing these actors not even understand their own characters, I'm like, okay, yeah. Maybe you should have discussed that a bit more and thought it through.
We're just running through the forest.
Running in slow motion. I've got Linford Christie music. Da, 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 da.
Oh, this scene was horrible even when it was in the show. I don't know if I want to see the making of. Why have we got these big pieces of string going across the screen?
Run as if you're running across the surface of the moon.
And you don't see anyone else, it's just us running.
You just said an entire sentence that meant literally nothing. Well, we're running through the forest and there's only us two on screen. What's your point, mate?
And all of a sudden, right behind us is like...
Oh no! You can't even see it! You can't miss that, so take two.
Sudden right behind us is like... hundreds of orcs.
Why? Why?
Run to the guy with the duster. The duster, everybody.
I'm sorry, but can't your actors run in a straight line towards a person? Come over here, everybody. I know you're stupid. I know. Don't go over there. Stop running in the wrong direction. Oh, God. Oh. Why are you treating your cast like morons? I've just realised that's not like a duster or a flannel or something. That is a yellow high-vis vest that people wear that he's waving, because you can see like there are little reflective bands on it. They're only running from about 20 meters away in the background over here. How can they not know where they're supposed to be run? Oh, you sort of think, where have humanity gone?
Each of these orcs took months to design.
Why? Who were you employing? Twitter software engineers? How long does it take you to draw a picture? I know that the orcs are generally the most praised thing about the show and everyone seems to be happy with their appearance. They're quite detailed, they look cool, fine, that's great. I'm glad they've got a lot of praise. They shouldn't take months to design. Come up with a few ideas and draw a picture, but this isn't Mensa, people. No wonder this show cost $1 billion if people are charging you several months worth of wages to come up with that.
When we're running out of hope, this is a moment of no return. I see my love.
I'm sorry, but what's she supposed to do about it?
When there's no hope and we're all about to die, a florist turns up.
Yes, and what's she gonna do? Throw rose petals at them?
The two people she cares the most about in the world are in one place.
Oh, congratulations. Now she can die with them at the same time. I'm not sure why we're celebrating, to be honest. What did she think she was going to do at that time that was going to help? That's my question.
They just really sort of pop from the dark forest, these white, bone white orcs running through there.
I don't know if that was meant to be an impressive sentence, but he just basically said orcs ran across the ground. Do you think this is where he's asked to make a behind the scenes of his episode? He thought, actually, nothing really happened in this episode, did it? I didn't even have enough to talk about to last 6 minutes.
That was really one of those dream come true moments.
A load of people running through a forest was one of your dream come true moments. Look, if I can get a wife as easily pleased as that, I think I'll be quids in.
It's this moment of Bronwyn proving that you don't need muscles and brawn to overcome evil.
Are you having a laugh? You got saved by the sun. You ran out into an open field and you're like, well, I've just proved that you don't need muscles and brawn. No, you just need a massive celestial entity to come to your life and save you, and the thing chasing you to be weak to the celestial entity. You just need an amazingly coincidental twist of fate. I'm sorry, but if in a vampire film people were like, see, you don't need brawn to defeat vampires, you just need the sun, I'm gonna hope they get eaten by a vampire. The undeserved arrogance of it all is what really gets me.
You need smarts.
Smarts? You ran out into a field. How is that smart? You weren't even doing it intentionally. You ran out into that field, and when they followed you, the sun came out from behind some clouds. I don't think you planned that. I don't think this was part of your big, massive brain. See, in 3, 2, 1, the weather's gonna change and save us all. Oh, you could have said a lot of stupid things at this point, but I didn't think you were going to try and take credit for the weather, and that's a whole other level. You've got War of the Worlds, and they're just like, no, I'll just let them do whatever they want. They're all gonna die to the flu in a minute.
Galadriel at this point.
What did you call her?
Galadriel.
Adril?
Galadriel.
Galadriel. We're not just not bothering to roll the R's anymore. We've somehow squashed a name into one syllable.
One-track minded, and there's an element of selfishness in what she's doing.
An element? Selfishness is basically her entire character.
She got a one-track mind, yes, and it's not even the good type.
I mean, except for Sauron, obviously. If she can destroy the world and nail Sauron, then she'll probably be very happy with herself.
And she's also faced with incredible woman of Miriel.
What's incredible about her? She didn't really do anything at all except stay at a distance and watch men do everything. I mean, I know she's the queen, but if you want to try and say that people have done something important, then that's not your character.
Who is equal to her.
Now, I'm not a fan of Galadriel, but there is absolutely no way on earth that Miriel is equal to Galadriel. Galadriel in this series was portrayed as basically the one person who could do literally anything but was also evil, and Miriel was like,
well, I've got an orb that you can look at.
Headed back to Middle-earth.
Yeah, this was a really bad scene, wasn't it? Showing us how short Galadriel is. It wasn't your smartest move.
One white petal flutters, then another, then another.
But you've just tried to say how great Miriel is, and now you're like, well, she made an amazing decision, and then she had to change her mind because a tree lost a leaf. This really isn't the kind of air and epitome of intelligence and strength that you're trying to portray her as.
It was a sensational moment.
Did we watch the same series? The tree lost some leaves, and it's sensational.
And it's through that sea of petals that I catch the queen's eye. She catches my eye.
See, I never even understood that. I didn't know that he was supposed to be looking at her. I thought she was looking at the petals falling, staring at a wall or the camera or something. I didn't know they were supposed to be staring at each other going, we've made a mistake. He definitely didn't catch her eye. She's there looking at the sky, and he's just looking at the camera. And she's miles in the city at this point.
I call on you to...
Are you sure you want to show us this scene in behind the scenes?
I call on you to...
That looks even worse when it's behind the scenes. She just grabs a guy and goes, and the other two people go, might as well walk in here.
I call on you to finish...
Look, that guy just walks in. He's like, oh, hello, mate. Let's come in here, shall we? I'll just take you in here myself. He even grabs the other soldier and just walks him in.
Maybe the elves, as much as they were guarding us, they were also protecting us.
At no point does your character even consider that option. Everyone thought that they were there looking after you because you were all evil filth. And now we've seen the show. Let's face it, it was probably true. Behind the Series episode 5, where if you made it this far in the series, you were probably reviewing it.
Migration means like to move.
I know they said they wanted Rings of Power to be for the whole family, but we don't need to educate 5-year-olds about basic words.
Midsummer we make for Northfield Glen, so the only trouble is there's 100 perils between here and there.
Perils?
Yeah, perils. Another word for Harfoot. There's 100 of them in the village.
A wonderful thing about this show is the way that we travel to these different worlds.
That's the wonderful thing about the show?
Well, the wonderful thing is we've got a lot of different sets. I'm not going to mention the characters or the story or the script writing. Just think of it. It's like being in your living room and then going into your bathroom. It's a whole different world. Hours of entertainment.
In these different worlds, there's different heroes, there's different antagonists.
We had to get to the making of episode 5 before they went, well, you know, there's heroes and villains and entertainment. At some point of your behind-the-scenes making of, can you just dive a bit deeper than the surface level of stuff? Even She-Hulk had reasons for why they were making their own decisions.
Yeah, we used cameras and films, and some people even read off a script. It was incredible, it really was.
There's different drives and motivations.
Gets what? Well, you see, we've got these characters, and these characters do things for what we call reasons.
Which is weird in Rings of Power, because it just seemed like everyone was moving on to next event for absolutely no reason whatsoever. We're staying in Numenor. I'm not sending my army to Middle-earth. You should go to Middle-earth. Yes, we're going to Middle-earth.
The whole Harfoot community and family.
I hate calling it a community, let alone a family. Mind you, the way he's using it in Rings of Power and the way they use it on Twitter is basically the same thing.
Do you mean they're all going to eat each other?
Yes. Yes. For different reasons, but yes.
Just brought such a dimension to these characters.
What extra dimension did you add to them? Gaslighting? You've got the reality of what they're actually like, and then the reality they just convince all the Harfoots that they're living in.
No, if you fall behind, it's your fault. Quick, take the wheels, take the wheels! Oh, it's not my fault you can't keep up if you don't have any wheels.
You have endless optimism.
Where? Or a better question when you're the Harfoots, why do you have endless optimism when you're surrounded by other Harfoots? My main question when I was watching them migrating is, why do you want to catch up to those lunatics in the first place? My theory is the Harfoots got so good at hiding because they had to hide from each other just to survive.
And then you also have the vulnerability.
The vulnerability of the Harfoots is because you keep stabbing each other in the back.
They'd only sort of heard about wolves and
trolls and hunters and men.
Yeah, but they shouldn't need to be told about the Harfoots. You keep a book of people that you've murdered and laugh about it. We will wait for you. Quick, go, go. Go now, go!
The secret of all chases is to keep speed up. You're doing 100 miles an hour tracking with somebody, and you could be doing 20.
You're not even doing 20. Look, they're barely moving. We just saw it on screen.
There's no reference.
But there is a reference. Do you want to know what the reference is? All the trees that they're surrounded by. Yeah, when you're flying through space, there's no background to compare it to, but we know the speed that trees move at. Except the ones that actually move in this universe, obviously.
Armstrong, incredible second unit director for the action scenes.
Why do you have hard hats on in a forest?
Yeah, well, you see, we need high-vis vests and yellow hats on just in case acorns fall out the sky.
Or is it just because you're surrounded by Harfoots, so think they're going to cave your skull in?
Everyone has wanted to achieve was amazing.
Yeah, that was the most disappointing moment of the entire show. Like, finally, they can get what they deserve.
We've had a lot of scale work.
I mean, I'm not really sure how much work went into it. Like if you take this scene, there is no trickery involved in this scene. He's closer to the camera and they're short. That's not trickery. That's just how height works.
And the scale team are amazing.
Oh, now we've got the dust filters on again. Seriously, you would be amazed at how much dust one of these portfolios actually has on them. I can't breathe.
The scale team have done such an incredible job at...
Someone's going to have to explain this scene to me. This makes no sense whatsoever. All I know is that if I was Alyssa Milano, I'd be saying there's one very specific difference between the two groups of people in this photo.
An incredible job at seeing when and where and how we can act directly opposite each other.
Hey, when can I be in the same scene as Steve? Well, you know, when you're written in this book next to each other, then... Like, when you talk to each other, you'll be in the same camera scene. Really feel like we're making a mountain out of a molehill here. You're not doing Lord of the Rings, where they had tables separated by distance and different camera framings put together. You're literally just a group of people standing next to a tree. And if you did do anything more complicated, in your making of documentary, you could just show that on the screen rather than trying to pretend how difficult you had it when you're not showing it at all.
I think it's great to be on location because it's good to just go somewhere.
See what I mean about the actors are just like, I had so much fun. It's great to be on location because I get a holiday. The Harfoots were a migrating species and next year we're going to migrate to Hawaii. It was so wonderful and incredibly beneficial to the story. Us being in Hawaii.
Daniel, who plays the stranger, Mark Keller, who plays Nori, they're two special actors.
That's not very nice. Look, I know he has trouble speaking, but there's no need to take the piss out of him for it. And Nori's just had a bit of an overprotective upbringing. She's not special. At the end of the day, they had to do that so one of the Harfoots didn't eat her.
Beginning of a relationship between the character that the stranger turns out to be.
You mean Gandalf? No, I don't think he actually is Gandalf, which is why they won't just say his name. But I do think they've got that in their back pocket just in case the viewers keep diving, in which case they can go, actually, no, it was Gandalf all along, we promise. Hey, Ian McKellen, do you want to come in? Hey, we've got a guest spot for you.
The Harfoots are the kind of earlier evolution of what would eventually become the Hobbits.
No, they are the Hobbits. It's literally written down in the book. And you know that. I don't believe you don't know this. Because you've got rights issues doesn't mean you can change the law. Oh, they're just proto-Hobbits. Yeah, and this is proto-entertainment.
Well, you know, at some point, it might lead up to entertainment, but it's not there yet.
You don't want to disengage the audience when the action starts.
You'd have to engage them first for them to even disengage. And why do you think people would disengage during the action? Oh, when things are actually happening, that's when everyone will check out. Because they were so interested in the nothingness that when something happens, they'll just be like, I'm so bored of this. Yeah, if there's one thing John Wick is renowned for, it's boring its audiences.
Oh, it's just got too much action. I don't like it.
I think you know what you're talking about, dude.
The main driving force behind all the kind of decisions that we're making. Chase with the Harfoots, incredible sword sparring scene with Galadriel.
I don't see how this links on to your earlier sentence. We don't want them to be disengaged when we have an action scene. This is why we had a wolf and Galadriel fighting.
Miv is one of the...
Wait, there wasn't even a point to what you said. You just carried on and moved on to somebody else. This isn't like explaining decisions behind the show. You just went, well, we had a wolf and we had a sword fight. Next person, please. This is why the show is so shallow. The people that made it were as well. They haven't put any thought into this beyond just a checkbox of, well, we've got this, and that's it. There's nothing that ties it together.
She comes to light when the cameras are rolling.
Look, there's no need to insult her, mate.
She comes to life when the cameras are on her, and when they're off, she's the most boring person you've ever met in your life.
Calm down, dude.
She's tough. She's a perfectionist. The sparring...
I don't believe you watched that sword fight, and the word at the forefront of your mind was perfection. Even if we watch your scene back,
she's tough. She's a perfectionist.
Bored is the emotion that comes across from her when she's like, oh yeah, oh, this is This is so easy. She's not even putting, like, energy behind the swipes. It's just, no, here.
The sparring fight for Miv is a point to case.
The sparring fight is a point to case. Do you mean it's evidence of what you've just said? I don't even know what you mean. Where is this guy's sword going? Like, how high? Morphid's like 3'2". Who's he attacking? A giant?
He's finished this show being incredibly capable swords person.
No, oh, come on. After Keanu Reeves did The Matrix, he did an interview where someone said, oh, so you know Kung Fu now? And he says, well, I know movie Kung Fu. In other words, no, I don't know how to fight. I just know the movie version of it, where basically you go like that and suddenly you've stopped their force, no matter how little amount of effort you put into it. No, she can't sword fight. She just knows movie sword fighting. And you can tell that by the way she blocks swords and, like, not even putting effort into anything. It's like watching those self-defense videos where they only work if the person isn't actually trying to stop you do your move.
It's a two-handed fight, and I have a really uncoordinated left hand.
I love when she's talking about a left-handed if it's a separate entity. You wouldn't believe what this hand does. It's just got a mind of its own. Sometimes it just randomly smacks me in the face.
Once again, I come into stunts being like, I can't do that.
I've heard other actors go, when you go in for a movie, they'll say things like, can you ride a horse? Do you drive a boat? Can you go shooting? And you're like, yes, yes, yes. And then when you get the job, suddenly you go out and get trained as fast as possible because you've just lied to everyone about your abilities. Or if it's like, no, I can't do anything. I'm useless. That's the kind of can-do attitude I expect from the British.
But I started doing very simple stuff with two swords.
This fight is even worse when you watch it from behind the scenes. Watch this woman in the fight we've just had, the one at the top. She's about to attack Morphid. Somehow, that guy attacks her. I'm still not really sure why.
No, I think you can.
She gets ready for an attack.
But I started doing very...
Swings about 20 foot above her head.
Simple.
I think she's supposed to get stuck into a stone pillar.
Stuff.
So she wiggles around for a while.
With two...
Now Morphid, who she's supposed to be fighting, is down here. And the woman is still looking in the entire wrong direction where her enemy isn't.
Swords.
So then she draws her sword, puts her arm out at a person. There's no one there. There's no one there for your attack. Your enemy is on your left. Why are you fighting this invisible person? Do you think you're fighting the Predator or something? It's an elf.
Oh, well, what happens if she's got spidey sense?
And she just stays there for ages, staring at empty space.
We do this.
Even as the camera leaves, she's still like, where's she gone? I don't know. I mean, I know the sword fighting sounds over my left shoulder. And I'm supposed to be a trained soldier in one of the greatest armies that ever existed. I just don't know where she is. I can only find her by the sound of her left arm flapping in the breeze.
Going round and round and round in this repetitive motion. And then suddenly, I was being able to do things.
Suddenly, I was able to do things. Never been able to do things in my entire life before. This is... I don't even know what this is. I never realized before, but if you practice a skill... you get better at it. It was incredible. This is what I mean. Actors, directors, they do not live in the same world as us. It's no wonder that they have completely deluded opinions about everything. When you think it's deep, that I was really bad at this when I first started, and then I repeated it, and I got better. It was incredible.
There's something happening in Middle Earth.
You really blow me away with your in-depth descriptions. There's something happening where, well, I don't know, probably at a place in the world. I could tell you gave really detailed directions to your crew.
Evil is on the rise again.
That's just the half-odds.
I think Isildur is very excited about the prospects of exploring a new world.
I don't think Isildur had any idea what he was excited about at all. I want to be a sailor. No, I want to go over to these islands which are calling me. I don't want to be a sailor and go over to the islands anymore. I want to go over there for some reason that I don't know about. Those islands that were calling him, we never spoke about them ever again. Maybe you should have just edited out all the scenes that never went anywhere in your entire first season.
Father quite proud that both of them...
You're not proud of that armor though, are you? No, it's not my fault. This is just what happens when you drink too much beer.
And worried that I've left my daughter behind.
If Dad goes off to war.
This is like evolution of the armor. You've got like level 1 torso armor, level 10 armor, and max level armor. Don't worry, dude. If you keep slaying orcs, one day you'll evolve into that too.
If Dad goes off to war and he goes with him, then I have no one.
Have you considered making friends with a She-Hulk? I think you'll have a lot in common.
There are a lot of us there. Everyone in their storylines, basically. All of us on the boat together setting off.
Well, most people were just amazed that you could fit everyone into that boat. I still think a Time Lord's going to pop out one in season 2.
Stepping on the ship to all these beautiful Numenorian soldiers was really amazing.
I was the center of attention. It was the best day of my life. It was like walking down the aisle. All eyes were on me. Everyone else was standing there in their armor, and I just clearly had the best clothes and tight. This is like the walnut milk version of the John Wick suit fitting scene. So yes, I want one Italian, lining, tactical. But he didn't walk out into the street and go, oh, all eyes are on me.
It was one of the first moments in the series where Galadriel was like, done it.
I've made it. I've got my armor, I've landed me fella, and now I am leading an entire island. Finally, she had attained the status that her ego always thought she deserved.
She won this battle.
What battle? You didn't go to war, you whined at a woman for a while who then capitulated for no reason whatsoever. It wasn't impressive, you didn't win the game of houses. You literally just whined at people and then emotionally blackmailed a guy into becoming the most evil person on Middle-earth again. It's not what I'd call a success story, love.
Galadriel's striving for a glory that will give her closure.
Wow, that's honest. Galadriel is striving for a glory that will give her closure. Galadriel's not a hero, she's not sacrificing anything for anyone, she's not doing anything for anyone else. It's all about her. She wants glory, not because it's good or because it helps people or it benefits the universe in any way. She doesn't want glory because it's the right thing to do. It was the moral choice. No, she just wants glory because she thinks that will give her closure. The only thing motivating Galadriel from the actress herself is pure selfish motivation for her to get something out of it. And people wonder why no one can get behind Galadriel as the hero.
Frodo, why are you taking that ring up the mountain? Well, if I do, someone's going to give me a Ferrari.
Doesn't really carry the same weight, does it?
Still seeing the world as pieces of her puzzle that she puts together.
Slowly. Galadriel's life is just putting together pieces of a puzzle, then it's one of the baked bean ones, or just no picture at all, white piece of cardboard at about 1 million pieces. Actually, no, 2 pieces. They're just sitting right in front of them. I don't know how this goes together. Oh, look, they fit like this. I'd never noticed that before. Like, it wasn't a hard puzzle. She was just bad at it. I mean, come on, how more obvious do you need to get? And what do you find from this? These people have no idea what they're talking. Everything is so surface level and basic. Supposed to be doing the making of. You're supposed to be giving us insights into your work and what have you got.
Well, you know, the Harfoots are tiny and evil happens.
I thought for $1 billion show you're making of would really have a lot to show for it. Just look at the things that we did to bring you this experience. They even advertise this as, oh, you want to go back and rewatch it, but now you've got X-ray specials. They made a huge deal out of these, and what they show you is surface level at best. It just leads me to think that's as deep as they went. That's how they think about the show, just on a surface level of events happening, and that's it. If there's one thing that's for sure about this, the making of She-Hulk was so much better because at least it felt like they'd put a lot of work into their show. It just turned out how it did because of the people making it and what they wanted to make. But boy, was their thing so much more impressive than this. Well, those are just my thoughts. What are yours? Let me know down in the comments below. Like the video if you like the video. Subscribe. More videos like this in the future, and I will see you in the next one. Part 3. Bye-bye.